Hello and welcome to the Batcave, your secret hideout for Brawl gameplay and deck tech videos. I'm your host, BlindBat8719. On today's video, I'm playing for you a blue-white control deck led by Teferi, who slows the sunset, as we now enter this new standard format, standard Brawl format, post-rotation. Before I go over the deck, a couple of asks to my audience. If you really like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing to the channel. Help me grow, be greatly appreciated. As well as if you like the deck, let's share it with your friends. Tell them about my videos. Again, greatly appreciated. With the asks out of the way, Teferi, who slows the sunset, is a planeswalker, 2 white-blue, comes in with 4 loyalty. His +1 ability allows me to target up to one artifact, 1 creature, and 1 land. Untap the chosen permanents that I control, tap the ones that I don't control, and I gain 2 life. So ideally with him, if I have a mana rock and a land out, that means he only really costs 2 mana, which is awesome. There's another way I think you can also build with Teferi, using this ability to be much more aggressive, as you can then choose to tap down a blocker an opponent may have and try to get in some more damage. His -2 ability lets you look at the top 3 cards, put one of them into my hand, the rest on the bottom of my library in any order. And then his -7 is his ultimate, goes with I obtain an emblem that untaps all permanents I control during each opponent's untap step, and as well, I draw a card during each opponent's draw step. So not really eventful with a Brawl on Arena, as we are just having one opponent, but if you were to play this in Paper Brawl with 3 other players, or in EDH, / Commander, you'd be able to, this would be a really powerful effect, and I'm actually considering putting this in my Rabbit deck, because I forget the name of the Rabbit Wizard, but yeah, I think that'd be a fun one to try to put in there. So with the format rotating out and changing right now, since we lost all the old sets, what I was thinking I wanted to do coming into here, because I'll be honest, Innistrad isn't really one of my favorite sets to be in. It's not one of my favorite environments. There are only a couple of things that really excite me, or something like, there's not really a lot that excites me to build with right now. So I decided to go more archetypal, and I haven't built like a control deck, or especially blue-white control deck, probably since my Nico deck. So I felt like I wanted to mix things up a little bit and maybe go a little more on a control binge right now. So when it comes to control decks, there's a few things you need. Starting off with are the finishers. So Monk of the Open Hand isn't the finisher. I'm playing him because I'm trying out the Grandmaster of Flowers, aka Bahamut. Now, these are 2 cards that if you don't like them at all, you could definitely, there's a flex spots for you then. You can swap them out and let me know what you swap them out for. But starting out with Grandmaster of Flowers, as long as there's 7 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 7/7 Dragon God creature, flying and indestructible. So, and he has 2 plus abilities. The first plus ability, he says the target creature without first strike, double strike, or vigilance can't attack or block until your next turn. So it basically stops my opponents. If they only have 1 attacker, if it doesn't have those abilities, it can stop them, slow them down, which is really great. Or I could slow my opponent down by searching for Monk of the Open Hand and bringing it to my hand and casting it to act as a blocker. And then, then Monk of the Open Hand says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Monk. I don't always expect that to be the case, but I figured these 2 kind of go as a pair, so I'm going to give it a shot. Ascendant Spirit is in here because, well, I feel like it's a good finisher because it can keep growing and growing. And so, especially with the last ability, that ability stacks, so you can consistently keep putting 2 +1/+1 counters onto the Ascendant Spirit and have multiple triggers of dealing combat damage to a player, draw a card. So in the late game, this is something that I can level up quickly and get to be a finisher relatively quickly. And then Imrith Desert Doom is another great one. 5/5 flying body for 5 mana, has ward 4 as long as he's untapped, so it's really expensive to try to kill him if he's untapped. And whenever he deals damage to a player, I draw a card. And then after drawing that card, if I still have less than 3 cards, I get to draw different cards equal to the difference. So I'm always going to draw at least 1 card, and if I'm really low on cards, I can draw more. Now, what's a really nice combo with Imrith and Teferi is the +1, because I can attack with Imrith, main phase 2, use Teferi to untap the Imrith, to now not only make him a blocker, but also put back the ward 4 onto him. So that was a cool combo I found in testing the deck out. Now, you need to go over some of the control elements. So this is mostly the counter spells with a little bit of taxing on it. So Curse of Silence, I feel, is one of the white cards you should be playing in every one of your definitely standard Brawl decks. I'm not sure about Historic, but probably I would say makes the cut for Historic potentially. Definitely if you're playing in standard Brawl right now, if you're playing white, you should play Curse of Silence. automatically putting commander tax on your opponent's commander is definitely debilitating for a lot of decks. And then once they get around to actually paying the 2 and casting it, just sacrifice it. You draw the card. I don't think you need to keep it around to have it cost a lot more unless they're playing maybe a 2-cost commander. But for the most part, you play a Curse of Silence out on 1. You now make them wait probably another 2 turns to cast a commander, which hopefully gives me more time to get set up and prepare for that event. And then when they do actually cast them, I draw the card and hopefully counter it or kill it. Disdainful Stroke, Dewari Disruption, and Negate are the 2-mana counter spells. They're somewhat conditional. Disdainful Stroke has to be a really expensive spell. Negate has to be a non-creature spell. Unfortunately, with the rotation, we lost Essence Scatter. So hopefully that will be reprinted in the upcoming set so we can get that back for control decks. And then Dewari Disruption really only punishes our opponent if they tap out. Otherwise, it could become a land if I'm really in a pinch for one. I think this would be land 26, I think, for me in the deck. With land 27, I'll talk about later. Elite Spellbinder is another taxing effect. It's a 3/1 body that I can look at my opponent's hand, exile a non-land card from it, and as long as it remains exiled, they may still cast it, but it costs 2 more to cast. One of the things I really like about this card, well, even though he can be kind of frail and he can die, with only 1 toughness, being able to see what's in my opponent's hand and actively disrupt it, I think is great. That information makes it a lot easier for me to craft my game plan, so I know what I want to counter, what I can choose to. Okay, I don't know about countering that. I can kill it with my other spells or whatnot. I just knowing what's in my opponent's hand is really useful. And then Flip the Switch is a new one from Innistrad. Don't really have a use for the zombie token other than maybe have an additional attacker that I can maybe threaten with. But opponent has to pay 4 to counter something. I think that's worth it. For the most part, that would be a hard counter. And I think having the body is ancillary but still useful. And also the fact that because I'm taking some of these limitations by having it, them being able to spend the 4, I can spend, it only costs me 1 blue. I think that's kind of worth it. As opposed to playing maybe an additional hard counter. And the other thing, it's a new card, so I want to play with some new stuff. And then Saw It Coming, upgraded version of Cancel, that if I want to, I can always foretell it, so that later on only costs 2. Into the removal spells in the deck, the targeted removal, Fateful Absence is a new one from Innistrad that I think, again, another one that every white deck should include in the deck. I don't really care about giving my opponent a clue. I just want to get rid of the creature or the planeswalker for a really cheap cost at instant speed. Into the Royal, again, it's a cheap card that I can just bounce something at on my opponent's side of the field. It's not a land, and later on I can also kick it to draw a card to replace it. Borrowed Time is the newest Oblivion Ring variant, so I think that's pretty awesome, so I would say play that in the deck. Minimus Containment I think is a fun one as well. I think in testing, one of my favorite plays I pulled it on was put it on somebody's Arcane Signet. So instead of that being a constant source of mana, it was only a 1-shot effect. This can be a little tricky with, say, putting it on the opponent's commander because you kind of just gave them the extra mana to pay the commander tax. But I still think the Minimus Containment is a fun card to include in the deck. Skyclave Apparition to kind of get rid of something that's on the smaller side that my opponent might have on their side of the battlefield. Inscription of Insight is a very flexible card. I usually like to think of it as a 4-mana bounce 2 creatures, almost kind of like a super version of Into the Royal. It's not terrible if you want to use it to draw 2 cards and scry 2 and draw 2. The least used mode would probably be the last mode for 4 mana. I would probably only choose that mode if I'm going to be kicking this thing for 8 later on in the game. And then Nico Ayers I kind of consider more of a removal spell with his -1 ability to deal 2 damage to a tapped creature for each card I've drawn this turn. So it takes a little more finagling to use, but even then I could always tap something down with Teferi with his +1 ability so that I could kill it permanently with Nico Ayers. Now onto the board wipes, pretty much Doomscar, Devastating Mastery, and Vanquish the Horde kind of get rid of everything. Vanquish the Horde and Doomscar deal with creatures. Devastating Mastery gets rid of everything. And I'm okay with this for the most part. Yes, it can feel kind of bad if I'm going to get rid of a lot of my stuff. So if there's a lot of things on my side of the field that I want to get rid of, this could be maybe a bad choice. But I even feel like it's still worth it if just to have the option of something my opponent goes completely bonkers and I have no ways of dealing with it. Giving this as at least a clutch card and to save me in that situation is useful. And even if I can't pay the full 4 white, even taking the cheaper cost, because I'm a control deck, if I happen to have my counter spells or another removal spell, I don't care if they bring back 2 things that they now have to replay out and slow down a little bit, especially if I have the counter spell to just count it with the extra mana that I have left over. Sludge Monster is a new one that I kind of consider Board wipe-ish. It's just really slow in that it can minimize what the impact that my opponent's creatures has by turning them into 2/2s and making them lose all their abilities. I just get me really mindful about the non-horror bit, but I don't expect to see that a lot right now in Standard, so that non-horror bit shouldn't be an issue for the most part. Now we have the card draw to keep the hand fill. Starting off with Consider's a new one. This one maybe could get cut, but I figured it's a new variant on Opt of sorts that I want to kind of play out because it's new. Wizard class. This, if I get the level list all the way up to level 3, can definitely make my few creatures really powerful and dangerous to deal with. Faithful Mending is a new card that I want to play with, and I think that gaining the 2 life is useful. Don't have that many things with flashback to use to kind of like easily discard, but still I think the life gain's worth it. Behold the Multiverse is just another 4 mana draw 2 spell that I could foretell early on. Memory Deluge is a new one from Innistrad that I think also will be fun. It's an instant speed. I get to look at the top X cards, which is the amount of mana of the spell, so either the top 4 or the top 7, and put the 2 best into my hand. Cosmos Elixir is kind of a card again to deal with aggro decks, in that I get to slowly gain some life, so get some harder, and then if I have enough life, once that's taken care of, I can start drawing some more cards, incidentally. Graven Lore is another reason why I'm playing Snow. I get to Scry X, which equals the number of Snow I have in my deck, or use this to cast the spell, and then I get to draw 3 cards, so 5 mana instant speed, draw 3 is great. And then Seagate Restoration is my 27th land, that if I already have a lot of cards in hand, but not the right cards, I can hopefully survive, take the time to turn off to draw X+1 in my hand, and then have no max hand size the rest of the game. For ramp, Loyal Warhound. If I'm going second, this lets me kind of get caught up to my opponent by looking for basic planes and putting it into play. Tap. There is a new one from Innistrad. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. It's a human that's more of a card draw, because when it enters the battle, you can just put planes into your hand, which is not terrible. So if you were looking for maybe something, if you want to cut the Monk of the Open Hand and keep Grandmaster Flowers, I would say put that card in maybe instead of Monk of the Open Hand. Arcane Signet still legal, thankfully, in Brawl. Thank you for that. Wizard, so that's in here obviously. Replicating Ring because of the snow mana effects that I have. And the Celestis is a new card, but I feel like in case werewolves do get to be crazy, or this night day thing becomes really, I need some control over that, I think the Celestis could be really useful for that. And then again, there's Instant to Life Gain as well as card selection when it does become day and night. And it's another artifact that I can untap with Teferi +1 ability. And then onto the, I would consider the mana base. In addition to the mana base, these are the backup win conditions, or the manlands of Cave of the Frost Dragon, Hall of Storm Giants, not the Gates of Istfell, Crawling Barrens, and the Faceless Haven. I put in the Gates of Istfell as, again, another way to sneak in some extra card draw and a little bit of life gain in case I really need it late in the game. And then I have the Biblioplex on the off chance I'm trying to dig for an answer. This can at least get me another card into my hand. Or I already have a lot of cards in hand, I just want to keep adding to it. I feel like when we play with the Biblioplex, I haven't had a chance to do that lately, so that's in there. Field of Ruins always included to blow up something I want my opponent to have, especially the manlands that my opponent will probably surely be playing by now. And then in terms of the mana base, 6 plains, 6 snow plains, 7 snow islands, a deserted breach for some fixing, along with the glacial floodplains, the pathway, the command tower, and then evolving wilds as well. With the deck tech out of the way, let's jump into the arena for some brawls. Alright, this hand seems fine. I got Monk for turn 1, which is kind of funny. I can foretell, saw it coming for 2, and then on 3 I have Elite Spellbinder. So I'm playing against Jazzfox, piling a Toski, Bearer of Secrets deck. And these decks are, they're fun to play against. It's one of the things with green that, because of the draw effect, they can ramp. So usually by turn 3, they're already having Toski out and trying to draw cards or all that stuff. And then it just snowballs from there because green can ramp, has big creatures, and now you're giving it card draw. Ooh, what do they got for the art? Oh, they got the squirrel art. It's nice. So start by saying hello to the opponent and lead off with a plains to then get the Monk of the Open Hand out. Ooh, okay, so I guess they're going some tokeny theme here. Because I mean, the trample is, it could just because of the trample, but because it is one of the few cards that have trample in the set, but could be wrong, but I think there might be some tokens because of that. Could go either way. I've considered this a few times. So yeah, with some of the cards that have been rotated out now, This is one of the few ways of giving creatures trample that don't ordinarily have trample. I'm going to continue going with... Ooh, that's a good question here. I'm going to go with the Plane still, just to help out with the Gravenlore. They probably are going to play out Toski next. That is the thing, though, and I want to use the Spellbinder now. But Spellbinder's probably still going to be fine on the next turn anyways. Well, the next one would be Teferi. I'm going to go... Nope, cancel that attack. I'm just going to pass the turn here, mainly because, from my experience, the opponent almost always wants to cast a turn 3 Toski if they can. So, me going after the hand right now is not good, especially when I can just... Because Toski's indestructible. So, one of the... Oh, frickin' A, I forgot about this. Toski can't be countered. Resolved. So, that whole line of text I had before, just forget about it. Let's go with the blue here. Alright, so, that was me. I lost some advantage there. Let's see if I don't tilt too much on this. But... now I at least made that a good blocker, at least. Alright, what we got here? Colossal Might? No. Liberator can be annoying. Rune of Might gives it trample and +1/+1. And the Tracker. I'll deal with the Liberator if I have to. I'm going to get rid of this card instead, or make it more expensive at least. No attacks. Ah, dang. Well, they have the force. They really can't go nuts then. Oh, boy. Alright, so yeah, that was... I should have used the Spellbinder a lot sooner. This becomes the question now. Do I lose the Monk? Can I cast 2 spells next turn? I'd have to counter my own Teferi to do that. I'm going to risk things here, because I don't want to give my opponents really a lot of cards to draw, especially if they're looking for more lands right now, because it looks like they need. And they'll probably go with the Outland, so that would be... It's 1 spell, so now it's Day. Okay, let's see. We got 6 mana to play with here. Alright. So I would say swing with the Spellbinder in the air. Use that for white, use that for blue. 1 and 2. Play out Teferi. Untap these. So it does kind of mean all I have left is Saw It Coming open as an option, but I think protecting Teferi will be worthwhile. Again, he could probably take a hit. But also, if Toski goes at Teferi, not drawing a card. No blocks. And if he tries the surprise pump,
now that was a surprise.
Totally fine with that. And then, what does this do? Beginning of upkeep, power greater. That's gonna give him a token to draw some stuff out. I think I'll counter that. I know that the Rune of Might is potentially scarier per se, but they can't cast it right now, so they're going to go with the Colossal... Ooh, Augur of Autumn. Alrighty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could do 7, and I would draw... I do the 5, play a land... Alright, so I can actually draw... Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to use the Gravenlore now to pay with Snow. Definitely want to get the lands. And do I want Wizard? Wizard class would probably be useful for me right now, actually. As well as Skycleave Apparition. So yeah, let's do that. Let me draw all of that. Next, swing in the air. We want to be playing out here. I view 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do 4 mana. So I can play out the Cosmos Elixir to start gaining back some life. But I think instead the Skycleave Apparition is probably better on the Augur. So we're going to go white. And then... Oh, actually, I can do a lot of spells here. Artifact, creature, and then let's do the blue source. Let's start by using the Skyclave Apparition. That gets bigger. And then I could actually get rid of the Commander, which would be nice. But I think the Augur of Autumn is the one to go for at the moment. So it minimizes my opponent's chance of getting, of finding lands that they want. And then I'll start doing Wizard's class here, actually. Because this is something that I can start leveling up. It's what, 3 and 5 is 8. So I could easily level it up and then start putting counters on, say, the Elite Spellbinder. Alright, there goes Monk of the Open Hand as an option. Alright. Alright, and okay, maybe so, but I think it's still fine because that at least saves me my Arcane Signet. It'll save me the Cosmos Elixir later. And that won't go off. No blocks. I'm fine with that. Your opponent's not drawing cards right now, so I don't mind. Teferi can take the hits. I can use this to draw some cards. If I use this to draw cards, I'm going to get... I have one land. Yeah, I think I'll use this right now. Actually, because this is a 4/3. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to use the... I'm going to draw the card. I'll take the turn off to draw some cards here a little bit. Alright, Doomscar, Curse of Silence. None of that seems as just useful right now. Can't use the minus, so I have to do all of that. I think possibly Curse of Silence on Rune of Silence might be the better play, actually. So, yeah. Alright, so we'll do that, and then I have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I'm a little short on that. Alright, cool. Answers all that stuff, so we'll swing here for 1. Or swing for 3 in the air. Plus Teferi again. Untap, untap, untap. And I think I'm just going to kind of tap out here. I'm going to use Curse of Silence, targeting my opponent, and name Rune of Might to kind of get another card draw and make that a lot more expensive for them to cast. And while my opponent's deciding to let that resolve, I'm probably going to also use the other 2 mana, and I'm just going to tuck away Doomscar. Kind of a little bit as a safety net there, so I kind of get to use all my mana up. And then next turn, probably looking at a recast of Teferi most likely, though I may try to block with... If they go all out, I may consider double blocking. Alright, so we have... Rune of Might. Let's make sure I'm getting the right one, though. Rune of Might, yes. Rune of Might, done. And then let's foretell this here. So at this point, it's all about the card advantage. So I think now if the opponent... That's a good question now. Right? So they drew a land. So this now costs between the 4 plus the insanely amount. I think I'm fine here. No blocks. Because I'm not going to give him another creature with the Skyclave. I now realize the real benefit of the Team Pen is the Vigilance. That's the real bit. Alright, I'll take the action here. No problem. Jawari Disruption. That would have been nice. Oh well. Into the Royal. That is just as fine. Because that means all the stuff my opponent has put on there will kind of... What is this enchanted with? That's a good question. Did they enchant it onto him? Yeah, I can't tell. It's a little tricky at this point. Regardless... Actually, let's see. If I do this... I think I'm going to go a little more traditional here. I'll play Cosmos Elixir. My life total is already high enough. And then this makes a 4/3. I don't have enough for Teferi, but I'll just bounce anyways. So yeah, I think here... Swing with the Elite in the air. And then I'll draw another card. And I'll have Into the Royal. I'll kick it so I can draw another card. Ooh, and I have an Ascendant Spirit that I can start leveling up. That will be pretty nice. Alright, I think I got my opponent where I kind of want them actually here. Cast with Kicker on Toski. Now, at this point, they should really be attacking with both creatures, because even if they trade off the Sculptor, that means even if I trade off there, he's still drawing cards. Seeka's Chariot is nice. Okay. Now, there's a couple ways I could play this. I could try... Oh. I can try to wipe the board here at this point, and then I can wipe the board away, and then just try to take over with the man lands and maybe an Ascendant Spirit. If I use Teferi... The point for Teferi might be over with almost. Gonna swing with the Elite here. I mean, I do think this Jawari Disruption is probably not as good right now. But we'll see. Use a blue here for the Ascendant. And I could probably just start leveling this guy up a ton. And I'm just going to end the turn and see what we draw, and then play it off from there. Alright, Glacial Floodplain. So, more mana is not terrible. So I guess the Jawari Disruption will only be helpful now if my opponent does like a really big X spell. And then I guess I'll take the 4 for a hit. That's fine. Though I probably will see how big I can make the Ascendant Spirit before I actually commit to blocking with it. Alright, does that make it a 5-5 now? Alright, makes it a 5-5. Okay. Alright, pass to attackers. Let's see. The Toski thing gets kind of scary. Alright, makes another copy of a 2-2. That's fine. So before I do that, let's use blue, blue. Let's make you a Spirit Warrior. So now you're that. Let's spend another 3. So I even see now what I have left over. So now I get a 4-4. And I'm a little short, but that's fine. So pass. I'll block there. I'll take the 5 damage. It still keeps me above my life total, I think. Oh, I'm at 26. Alright. So worst case here, I'd say I could probably just use the Teferi to gain some life. That'll put me above my life total for the Cosmos Elixir. And I'll start drawing another card off it that way. Yeah, that's my turn, yeah. Ooh, okay, we'll go with the Breach instead, actually, now. Alright, so I think I need 4 for this. Alright, so let's see. If I do, I think double Z, right? QQ? QQ taps everything. Alright, so I have the 6, and I have another 4 left over. Alright, cool, that's fine. So Z untaps everything. So, oops, nope. Don't want that one. Alright. Ah, dang it, guys. I'm sorry. Mana tapping's a little rough. Blue, blue, white. White. Alright. Make that a 4-4 flyer. Oh, wait, do I have lethal right now? I have lethal right now, so let's force him to have the answer then. Alright, I think, yeah, there we go. Lethal in the air like that. Jazzfox, thank you very much for the game. That was a lot of fun. Let's go on to the next one. This one's a little bit tricky one to decide about keeping or not, because I have 4-ish lands, and I'm debating, but Jawari Disruption might be better as a counter spell this early in the game as opposed to making it a land. I'm playing against IUBearyMoo, I'm guessing, piling an Arlinn the Pax Hope deck, so this is probably Werewolf Tribal. I'm going to keep this, though. Probably going to use the Seagate as my land drop for blue. Start off by saying hello to the opponent and waving hi. Get those things going there. And then lead off with a Seagate Restoration in tapped, preserving the 3 life. So what I've been finding, in my own experience, I feel like when I play these spell lands, is that unfortunately a lot of the time what happens is that you use the, in this format, because we don't have the redundancy that you can do in standard or in any other format for the most part that allows multiple copies. The first Jawari would be great as a land. The second one might be better off as a spell. But here, if I use it as a land, I'm more likely to draw a land later on in the game when I really want a spell, I find out. That's why I fail with my decks. And I feel like if you use them, I mean, I will use these lands as my 24th or 25th land for the most time. because, or 23 and 24 lands, because these they'll come in and untap if I absolutely need to. But I feel like if you run out too many of the lands that are spells as well or other things, this shuffler kind of messes you up a little bit. That's just a weird gimmick that I have for myself right now. We got 3 there. I don't think this is worth. It probably actually is, but I'm going to start developing my mana first. It is possibly considered turning the Sculptor into a containment. This way, then, he can only use the mana once, as opposed to using it all the time. That's nice with the Ogam of Otter there, because now he has 2 mana. So, yep, and alright, so what do we, alright, 5 mana we got going here? Alright, so I have the snow-covered island we're going to play here. I could go with the Cosmos Elixir to kind of get my life total up. Maybe attack, draw a card, and I feel like that's what they're going to be wanting to do right now. If they deal with... I'm trying to think how likely they are to... I think let's go with Imrith here, because even the cheapest of spells I don't think will be enough to get around the Ward 4, and then I can start. If they probably play out Arlinn, I'll play out Teferi and use that to protect Imrith if I need to. I also have Minimus Containment to deal with some of the creatures, or the Arlinn if they try playing it out again. And then she actually comes out on the... She'll be Daybound. Alright, so I have to keep that in mind now. This is one of the reasons why I like the Celestis. So I'm playing against Arlinn here. If they were to get Nightbound, I just use this and I make a day to minimize the threats that I'll be dealing with. So that's kind of useful. How does this make it? Here, I'll take no blocks. This is not a situation where where I don't want to. I would expect a big pump spell or a burn spell. Rephrase: the burn doesn't bother me as much. The pump spell does. So it'd be easy for them to just give something, give this +2, and now I lost something. Alrighty. Flip the switch. That means more creatures are probably coming. Now, if I were to use the Celestius as well, I could probably untap 2, so I could keep up 3 mana. If I use 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, so I probably keep up this amount of mana open as well. And they probably got another big creature coming, I would guess. So hit for 5 here. Draw another card. Alright, I'm hoping to get to one of my board wipes or one more removal. Let's go white. Let's go blue. Don't care about that right now. And let's go with another blue. Play out Teferi. And now I get to untap the artifact, the creature, and let's go with the blue land. Alright, do I have the 4? So I could play out the Cosmo Elixir and I could play out Minimus Containment. He's going to draw a card next turn because he's probably going to swing with multiple things. But I'm expecting my opponent to try to go for a big spell here with the Boreal Outrider. That's my kind of gut feeling at the moment. Even then, they have the 6 mana with the Sculptor to play out Arlinn. That's something that I'll probably just flip the switch on. And again, if they commit to doing something pre-combat, then I know I can safely block and they probably won't attack as much. If they attack me first, I can still safely block because I'll have to flip the switch to protect the Imrith from any pump spells my opponent decides to do. Ooh, are they considering... Yeah, they are going to make it a 5-3. Okay. Alright, let's see what we got going on here now. Alrighty. I'm going to pass the blockers. And I will let Teferi go, because I do have the mana to recast him. And I can also use Memory Deluge to, fill up my hand if I don't need to protect the Imrith at all. So that's good. Take the action there, and then we'll use the Memory Deluge right now to see what I can get. Can't imagine. What else do they got for 2 mana? Oh, 3 mana now. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, Memory Deluge. Definitely want a land, I'd say. Do I want the negate? Actually, the negate deals with the Arlinn, so that's good. A cheaper thing for flip the switch. And I actually will take the land just to keep things going. Oh, good. Yeah, I'll draw a card. Why not? Sweet. We'll get rid of the plains because we don't actually need that. Alrighty, this is feeling really sweet right now. So I have command tower here, and I think we go with the. Teferi costs 6, but he's actually costing, yeah. So we're going to swing with Imrith and do the same play we basically did before. All attack. Right. You have to draw another card. And I actually could use the Biblioplex right now if I wanted to. Now's not the time to use that. So let's go with a white source. Let's go with blue. Blue, colorless. Let's go another blue. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's make it 6. Play out Teferi. We'll plus them up again. Untap that, untap that, untap that. So that gives me 3 mana, so I have a flip the switch or an into the royal as an option. And then this way now, if my opponent tries to do the same trick before with the werewolf pack leader, I will just use the into the royal to bounce it back to their hand and kind of make them waste their turn in that regard. Alright, so that puts them up to 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 8 mana available. So if it's a big, actually, so I'm kind of covered either way. Between Arlinn originally costing 4, alright, there's the pack leader, that's fine. Now again, if the pack leader's going after Teferi, it means he's not going after my life total, which is nice. Alright, pass to attacker, let's see what you got. Alright, that's fine. Pass the blockers, I'll kill your 2/2 in the meantime. And let's see how, because again, with the mana going, alright, pass the damage. Let's return the werewolf to your hand. You get to play him out next turn, no problem, but then that's kind of like, there's your turn. You lost your sculptor, and you're been reset a bit here. Alright, and that's too much for them. So, IUBearyMoo, thank you very much for the game, and again, that's kind of how we want to do things. Just kind of make it so that my opponent has a kind of force them to concede the game. So again, IUBearyMoo, thank you very much for the game. Let's go on to the next one. Alright, so this hand's a mulligan because I have Evolving Wilds, which is not bad, but then Crawling Barrens. Two lands that are kind of colorless. No early plays. Playing against chocobrioche maybe. Piloting a Tazri Beacon of Unity deck. So I don't really see a lot of Tazri, so I'm excited to see what my opponent has built here. I'll take the free mulligan instead. I think this is another mulligan, regrettably. Just because I'm not waiting to hope to draw for a blue. Much better. And then, yeah, we'll keep 6. And then I'm going to put the Memory Deluge back. As if I need to, as the Inscription of Insight can help with aggression. So start by saying hello to the opponent. Lead off the snow-covered island. We might as well play out my spirit to get my stuff going. And then just wave a Gizla. Yes, a hand. Alright, we got Grandmaster of Flowers. All attack. And then I might as well just activate the ability now. I'm kind of showing my hand that I have nothing for 2. But because I have nothing for 2, I'd rather do this. I don't need to play a mind game just yet. Now, regrettably, the Biblioplex is not... Oh, there we go. Alrighty. We're kind of getting there. So let's start getting aggressive in that regard. I don't think I'm going to have to get the... all I need is one more snow, but even next turn, I'm thinking if I do Biblioplex, if they play another creature out, I could bounce with the inscription of the 2 target creatures. So I could bounce the land even, which would then slow down their production. Alright, so they're getting their colors. So that's a good thing for the most part. Inga Rune Eyes. Scry 3. And this is whenever dies. Alrighty. So yeah, we're going to be the control deck, and we're going to be the mean control deck, I'd say. And just bounce the 2 creatures. Turn 2 creatures to their own hand, especially since one of them is a land. And I'm just going to swing in for 4 here. Next turn with the 5 mana. I can't do Grandmaster with the Searching for the Monk. That'd be kind of neat. Realm Walker. Okay. I still feel like Cleric. Interesting. So is Cleric tribal? No, it's a wizard. And they played out that. Probably cracked to see what's on top. I still. Alright, I do have the plains now. I feel like, though, I should make sure they have an answer for the Ascendant Spirit before I maybe go with the Grandmaster plan, honestly. Because if they can't deal with the Ascendant Spirit, I think I'm good. And then there's Imrith as a backup plan as well. Again, I don't know what my opponent's really trying to do here. I mean, they can play out Tazri for a little bit cheaper, but they really need to get either a flying blocker or some removal here. Otherwise, I think this is going to be a game pretty soon. It's 6. The best thing I can do here now is, again, do my best to not lose. So I think in that case, my best bet here would probably be to... I'm just going to swing here. The pump doesn't make much sense, really, because it doesn't like it's going to finish my opponent off. So I'm not going to waste my mana doing that right now. Ultimately, what I'm expecting from my opponent is that they are going to probably board wipe. So if that's the case, if they board wipe, Grandmaster, and then I lose my Monk. But I don't lose the Monk, because I can actually get it back then. Search for the graveyards. So I think maybe in that case then, let's try out the Monk. Oh, I add an extra blue. Oh, hopefully I can get that back. Let's do the Z. Z to make me lose my mana. Oh well. Alright. Search for my Monk. Search my library. Get my Monk. Play him out. So I kind of think what they're going to do is they're going to exile the Glyphless and then do a board wipe or, you know, something to that effect. No. Okay, Cleric. So I guess this is a Cleric style deck. Alright. This is all fine, actually. I can't keep him alive, so we'll just say no blocks here. And I think my opponent, unless they got a removal spell, which is entirely possible, I just not anticipating it too much. I have a couple options here. I could use Teferi, I could use Sludge Monster. I think the Sludge Monster is a riskier one, as that involves, if they kill the Sludge Monster or bounce it in response. Oh, they have a negate. Dang, alright. Alright, they got me on that one. So yeah, my concern with using Sludge Monster was that if I were to use the Sludge Monster and then give Tabrex a counter, he loses the flying, but then if they kill the Sludge Monster or bounce it back, because I saw the blue open, I didn't really so much think, okay, so that's what they're doing there. Alright, I didn't so much think of, okay, they're going to negate my creature. So I think at this point, you know, do not use Vanquish the Horde now because those creatures are indestructible. But yeah, I was thinking maybe they would have a bounce spell. I wasn't really expecting negate there. But I think still, next turn it's fine. I could definitely try out Sludge Monster this time. Alright. Tazri again. What other tricks does he have? He's got 4 mana open. That's enough for my opponent to try to... I mean, I might as well block because I actually have no more use for the Monk. So, I think that's fine as is. Alright. Evolving Wilds. I'm just annoyed that I don't have enough to have 2 backup plans going at the same time. So let's crack the Evolving Wilds now just to get things going there. We'll get a blue source. Got me with the Minimus Containment last time. So negate's out. And there's no Essence Scatter. I mean, there are things that say specifically counter target creature. Good game. Alrighty, got that from the opponent. Resolves. probably just seeing what they would have had if they were able to survive this. Alrighty, chocobrioche, thank you very much for the game. Let's go on to the next one. Alrighty, and that is the video for today. Played 8 games with this deck. It went 6-2, so the control game is strong with this deck. The things that I would say I would probably chop at the moment is I would say the Grandmaster Flowers with Monk of the Open Hand combo. It doesn't feel like I'm actually doing much with that per se. Grandmaster is nice, but I never felt like that was... Maybe I'm sure it was maybe a little more win more, but I think possibly I would maybe swap some of those out. So maybe Grandmaster can become a different win con. Though I do have again, I think beyond the 3, it could be another win con potentially, as well, replace it for something else, and then Monk with the Open Hand either becomes another removal spell or another cheap draw spell. Overall, I mean, I enjoy playing control decks. They're fun for me at least, and I like the idea of like jujitsuing my opponent and creating a position where they're kind of forced to concede. Bring the game in that situation. But let me know what you think of the deck in the comment section down below. What card suggestions you have for me on how to improve the deck. Would love to read about that in the comment section. If you like today's video, please click the thumb up icon down below. If you really like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing to the channel and clicking that button, helping the channel grow. And if you like the deck list, please share it with your friends as well. As always, thank you for visiting the Batcave, and have a great day.
Thank you.